Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Rebecca. Hi, Christy.
Good morning.
I think that's Lindy's voice I hear.
Yes, with lots of coffee.
All right. All right. We're going to give it a couple minutes so I can bring people in here from the waiting room. So give me just a minute to kind of bring folks in. While we're waiting to bring folks in from the waiting room, what did people do over their July break? What food systems-y thing did you do over July break in Pueblo? Did you volunteer at a new place? Did you try a new local ingredient? Did you go on the bus tour? What did you do over break? And Christy, would love to hear from you how the bus tour went. I was so disappointed to miss it. Don't be shy, folks. I know it's early, but we got to get started somewhere.
I'll start. So I got to go on the bus trip. I also have been volunteering at the farmers market in Mineral Palace Park at the community resource table. But the bus trip was a lot of fun. We saw some really interesting things about the Pueblo chilies roasting and irrigation needs of the pumpkin patch at De Tomaso, and even learned how to clean the popcorn from Musos. That was really cool. And then we went out to the research center where we learned a lot about water conservation and the different trials that they're doing out there in order to learn how plants grow with under drought conditions, and the best way to, and also a really cool thing was a desalination project that they're working on.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
that was really cool. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Derek. Who else? Who wants to share what they did over the break?
I'll go ahead and jump in. Just going down to the farmers market and working with the children's activities, and also just going out to the farms to actually purchase some food. And one of the new foods I tried was elote at the farmers market, and it was amazing, and I still can't get over it. So I recommend everybody to try that. That's about it.
And for those who don't know what elote is yet, please get folks excited.
So you have some corn on the cob, and then you have this mayonnaise that has lime in it. So it's like a Mexican mayo. So you put your butter, your Mexican mayo, as well as your Parmesan cheese, and then your chili powder, and some people put tahini on it. Amazing.
My favorite topping is cayenne pepper.
Yum.
All right. Who else wants to share what they did over the break? So got some folks coming in from the waiting room here.
I got a chance to go check out some of the farms, and then I also tried choke cherry jam for the first time, and it was delicious.
Yes, welcome to Pueblo, Rebecca. All right. Go
I've
for it,
been
Kelly.
to the farmers market each week. It's been a cultural experience for the family. Different kids come with me each time and there's fun activities, and we did the tour to learn about all the vendors, and the Cooking Matters has really great demos of fresh local ingredients every week. It's just been a really great way to meet new people and try new ingredients too. I met a young woman who's doing an urban farm Colorado Yardbirds, and I tried some microgreens, amaranth. That was a really cool experience. Oh, and she's also selling chickens and ducks that are from her own yard that are naturally grown. So just seeing a frozen bird in a cooler, was like a whole new thing about meat processing being local, and adding that to the vision too.
How about one more person before we jump in here?
This is Lindy. So me and a few volunteers have been doing tours of the market and doing some fun recipe samples like peach salsa or watermelon and mint, and some aguas frescas. But it's been really awesome having those community booths there, like our PFP booths, and then Catholic Charities giving out free books for kids. It really feels like a community gathering place. And we bought a chicken from Yardbirds and smoked it on the smoker. It was delicious. And I actually dared to eat one of the Pueblo Primrose chilies and found out that they are really hot, but delicious. And they're growing great in my yard.
Yeah, Dr. B, we had a conversation about the primrose not too long ago and compared how our plants were looking and the different colors that are showing up on our plants and the different stages. So they're thriving in Pueblo, no surprise there. All
Send me
right.
some pictures.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, everyone who has a primrose got to take a picture. Either send it to me, send it to Megan, or send it to Dr. B directly. But I'm sure pictures would be great for his records. All right, let's go ahead and jump in, party people. It is August 2021, if you believe it or not. We have just a quick review. In July, you all know we took a break. Today, we're going to take a quick look at our reflection activity. We're going to talk about the activities we have ahead. We are going to talk a little bit about Same Cafe, which is going to be an important conversation for us to have. And then in September, we're going back to our kind of every other month cadence, talking about equity versus food systems and how they kind of play together. So in September, we'll do some learning together on some case studies where food justice is really at the center of the activities the communities have taken on and sort of what that has meant for those communities. So get excited for that. Let's see. Megan, if you're on the line, I'm not sure if you see people coming into the waiting room or not. I know you're on the line, but if you do and you can admit them, that'd be awesome. It takes me a minute to get to it while I'm presenting. All right, friendly reminder, because it's been a while. Our North Star, where we're headed, Pueblo is recognized across the nation as a model local food system that creates economic opportunity, is representative of our diverse culture, and ensures everyone has convenient, affordable access to nutritious food they enjoy. If you remember, we spent a lot of time wordsmithing these North Stars and these goals a year ago when we submitted our implementation plan, and we want to make sure that we're anchoring on those with everything that we do. So what's popping for today? We're going to talk about the reflection exercise first and do a quick check-in on our strategies. Then we're going to do a very quick high-level conversation around community-wide assessments that are taking place. Sherie Caffey will talk to us about an assessment that CSU Extension executed over the last few months, and the results are in. And then I'll talk very briefly about the countywide comprehensive land use plan. Then we will, we're going to switch that up. Then we'll have the working groups give their updates. After that, we'll talk about our September activities ahead. And then we will have time, as always, for community announcements and appreciations. Is there anything that anybody wants to add to this agenda? All right, let's go. So the reflection exercise was really super much appreciated by the food project as a whole, by Megan and I as sort of employees of the project, and our executive committee certainly is going to appreciate all of that feedback. The full set of results are linked in your agenda. So if you're curious about what folks are saying about the food project, that information is there. We've removed any names, but all of the data is there because this is my project as much as it is your project, and you deserve to have all of that information as well. So if you're feeling like reading 3,423 words, go for it. It's linked there for you. Key themes. Everyone agrees that the project itself is really important and that we're doing good work and that this conversation is critical for Pueblo. So that was really nice to see. Meeting in person is really surfacing at the top of the list for something that folks would like to see change. And that's a very interesting point, because when we ask that question, it kind of lands always in the middle. So we're going to ask that question again at the end of this meeting to see where we land for September. But that was a piece of feedback that came out a lot. Hunger relief is great. People are excited to see that we are putting more fresh food into the community, especially local food. But again, it was brought up that we need to continue to think about long-term systems change. The reason that we're here, the whole reason why the Pueblo Food Project got started from the get-go was to really focus on those systems changes. There is some acknowledgement that the pandemic kind of put us down a path that no one quite predicted with some of the hunger relief work that we were doing, but it was brought up in many comments that we really need to think about long term. One comment shared, we asked the question, what is the biggest systems change that you've seen coming out of the Pueblo Food Project? And one responder said very bluntly, we're not there yet. We haven't had any long-term systems changes yet. And I really appreciated that position or that view, because, we really do need to continue thinking about what those changes are. I will toot our own horn a little bit and say some systems changes have already been implemented. For example, the edible landscapes now in season 2. The science takeover at Roncalli is a major win. I'm not sure folks recognize how significant of a win that was because no one mentioned it in the comments, but the fact that we got into the largest school district in our county and redid a whole semester worth of curriculum for a whole school of students is a big deal. That is a systems change. And I've mentioned it before. We're in one school last year, we're in 2 schools now, and we hope to be in 3 by the new year. So keep that one in mind when we're thinking about systems changes and ways that we can make lasting impact in the community. And then another comment that was a theme throughout these, and you'll see it if you take a look at them yourself, but folks said we need more marketing, that they speak to people all the time. They don't know what the food project is. They don't know what it's about. Some folks suggested a bring a friend campaign. Some folks said we needed to be out even more at different community events. So really appreciate that feedback, and we can think about what that means in terms of the internal capacity that we have with 1.5 people kind of running the show here versus how we enable our coalition members to really be that voice, be out in the community, be that representative, even if, Megan or myself can't participate. So I would say those were some of the key themes. And oops, sorry, a little jumpy on the trigger today. These were some of the comments that I thought were really sort of encapsulated a lot of what was being said. They summed up some of the themes really well. I'm not going to read these out loud. They're on your screen there. Take a minute to read one or two if you like. And then we will move on. All right. So what you see on your screen now are our 5 strategic priorities. Now, you'll remember that the Colorado Health Foundation provided a technical assistance consultant, Maggie Admack from Terrasoma, to help us really dial down as a community to articulate these particular priorities. And this was done over weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of work and wordsmithing. And by the time we had this all said and done and our implementation grant was submitted, everyone was like, woo, we did it. This is the move. This is where we're at. And so I want to bring this up for people because it's really important that we anchor on whether or not we're achieving our strategic priorities. Very few of the comments articulated anything connected to the strategic priorities outside of hunger access. And similarly for the goals. And so it's important that we remember this is what the Colorado Health Foundation is granting us to do. You know, we've been very lucky in the last year. We've got $549,000 worth of grants, including the planning grant and the implementation grant, and all of the hunger relief money that has come to us as a result of the pandemic. But at the core of this coalition development work is this Colorado Health Foundation grant focused on systems change. So the hunger relief money is great, but guess what? Those wells are gone dry. The amount of grant opportunities that are available in response to COVID-19 is extremely diminished compared to where we were a year ago. So we need to remember that those were great, almost like once in a lifetime opportunities coming from the Colorado Blueprint to End Hunger and the state and others who really supported that work. But now we need to get back to our meat and potatoes, which is this systems change stuff. So we have these 5 strategic priorities: healthy food access, local food system, food and farm literacy and ongoing education, engagement for influence, and optimizing resources and partnerships. Does anyone have a comment on one of these strategic priorities, whether or not you think it should still be a strategic priority, whether or not you think we're doing a good job or a bad job at achieving one of these strategic priorities? We'll play around with a little voting here in a couple minutes, but let's have a quick conversation about this set of priorities. Are we still aligned? Is this still the direction that we as a community coalition want to go?
Yeah, I'll chime in real fast.
Please.
Yeah, you know, I'm new to this coalition, so thank you everyone for having this in place at this point. I participated in something similar in Denver, and I would say that seeing this gets me really excited because I understand the kind of state of affairs we're in right now with funding and lack of funding, but I feel like all this information as I see written, I can see that there's been a solid foundation established. And I think that will just allow us to be nimble to handle whatever challenges come our way. So I feel like I just appreciate seeing this as a new person. There's been a lot of forethought and planning already to establish a solid foundation. So I just look forward to helping fill in any gaps possible. But I feel like other coalitions I've experienced, what I'm seeing now is just a lot more succinct and I think poised for success and to handle challenges. So like I said, I'm new, so I look forward to being filled in on the details, but as I see it, I think this is a pretty solid foundation to work with right now.
Thank you for that feedback. Other thoughts? Let's take maybe 2 or 3 more comments, please.
I would like to say engagement for influence. I think there's still a lot of stigma around the food system and knowing that we all eat food It doesn't matter where you live, if you live in the east side, the west side, the north, or the south. And it doesn't matter how much money you make either, or if you don't make money at all. That's been a constant battle. I would want to say, even within our food distributions, you know, some people don't want to access the food because they think people are looking down on them or something again. And it's not that at all. And I think we as a community need to keep pushing that forward, that we all eat food and we all deserve nutritious food. You know, some people don't deserve commodity food and some people don't deserve, you know, fresh food. So I think it's for our community coalition that we all need to be able to push that forward for that system change and that different mindset.
Thank you for that, Brandy. Go for it, Kelly.
I feel like we're making progress in all these areas, but the ones near the top have maybe made the most physical strides. All of our working groups are doing a good job of building out our own leadership capacity, and now we're trying to get more people into those working groups. So I'm excited for a new parent conversation coming up for the education group. That's a major stakeholder group that I see missing here. Parents having to feed their kids has been one of the hardest things throughout all of this resilience work. And I see lots of room for growth on the last one of optimizing the resources and partnerships. Where we are today versus where we'll be in 2 to 5 years could be so far if we really got the big players to show up and voice what they can do for the grassroots efforts.
Thank you for that. One more comment before we move on to our goals. Come on, y'all. Some of you have been here since the very beginning. Don't be shy.
Yeah, this is Derek. I think that our goals are exactly what we're working on. We've been working on all along. As far as a realignment, I'm not so sure we need a realignment at this point. I'm really happy with the direction that we're going in. I know that I'm working very, very hard to try to meet all 5 of these goals. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Well, Derek, I would agree with you that these strategic priorities are ringing true for the work of the Food Project. And as Dr. Kelly mentioned, and Brandy mentioned, we still have a lot of work to do before we say these strategic priorities have been met, but it sounds like we're on the right track. And based on the reflection exercise, I think folks overall would agree. All right, let's talk specifically now, move on from our strategic priorities to essentially the 6 things that we put into our implementation plan for the Colorado Health Foundation. And for folks who are joining us more recently, the Pueblo Food Project received 2 grants from the Colorado Health Foundation, a planning grant, which helped us articulate all of these strategic priorities and goals and really set baseline information for some of these numbers that we're working off of. And then an implementation plan, which we're in now, which is a 2-year grant for $200,000 that allows us to implement our systems changes. And these are the systems changes that we articulated wanting to focus on for the first 2 years of that project. So we have build upon and expand partnerships to increase the amount of and access to fresh foods in our community, initiate steps to bring Same Cafe to Pueblo, work with PEDCO and regional partners to incentivize a local food system, develop a PFP local farm and food business support program, food and farm literacy and education for students and residents / revitalize our community greenhouse, and grow the PFP policy influence in local, state, federal, and institutional spheres. You'll notice that the strategies are very connected to the goals. So there's a little bit of overlap there, but the goals get a little bit more specific. For the sake of our upcoming poll exercise, we are going to remove Same Cafe. And so the numbering will look a little like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So remove same cafe, the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that will become relevant when we do our polling exercise. Same question here, you know, two or three comments. Where are we at on these goals? Do these still feel like the correct goals for this work? Which ones are we doing really great at? Which ones not so much? And is there anything that needs to sort of be realigned with these goals? And we'll just take a couple comments and then we'll move into a poll exercise. Folks who haven't talked yet, how about you share your opinion?
I feel like these goals are right in alignment for what we need to be doing. When I read them, I get really excited about, oh, we can do this, we can do that. So I feel like they're really good for us to strive towards. And when I look at each individual one, I think about how they're really going to bring about systems change if we can pull them off successfully. Like number 2, the working with PEDCO to incentivize a local food system. Like if we could really do that and influence institutional purchases to stay local, like the schools and some of the major organizations, like that would be a really big impact locally and beyond. And some of these we're working on, the local farm and food business support program. We're building that curriculum right now, and hopefully we'll be able to launch it pretty soon. That's another one where we're going to have that incubator that's constantly churning out new entrepreneurs into our economy. So I'm excited.
Thank you, Mo. How about one more comment before we move into some poll work?
This is Dr. V. I think a lot of work was provided to build this structure. It's not a 1 or 2 year structure. It's really at least a 10-year process, I would say, if we're going to make systemic change. And I don't think adjusting them dramatically is indicated because we're just starting to work on it. But I will say that many of the people, the institutions, corporations that we hope to influence have gained a great deal of respect and interest in the food project around these goals. And while that interest may not have precipitated in very dramatic changes that are visible, I would say the social infrastructure to accomplish these things is very obvious to me when I talk to folks. And I think that's a tribute to the breadth of our commitment and the depth. And I feel not only excited about these goals, but tremendously impressed at how much ground we've gained in our local and statewide reputation that will foster all of this dramatically. So it may not be as obvious yet, but the groundwork, the non-visible groundwork, the social capital that we've created is very dramatic.
Okay, well, it's time for some polls. And Megan, I'm going to need you to log out as me because it is telling me you are logged in from another device and I cannot launch the poll, or you will have to launch the poll for us. It would be 8:25 poll 1. So let me know which option we're going to go with there, sister.
I'll log out.
Okay, thank you. Give us just a second. Megan and I share a lot, as you can tell. Let's see if I can do that now. Uh-oh. I think it signed me out, girl. All right, guys, quick technical difficulty. Let me try and log myself back in here. which I'm not exactly sure how to do while I'm on the line. Give me one shake to figure this out. Megan, are you still on the line? Dang it. All right, guys, we are going to pause on the polls until we can figure this out, because right now it's saying that I am logged out, which is quite curious because I am still here. So we will come back to that in a minute. Just know that some questions are coming, and we can do all of the polling at the end. I guess the next piece is to really talk about Same Cafe. So Same Cafe is on our strategic set of goals as number 2. However, y'all, we had a really great RFP go out for Same Cafe to assess whether or not the Pueblo community is ready to commit to bringing Same Cafe to Pueblo. Same stands for So All May Eat. It's a participation-based cafe with a center focus on food access, so that anyone, no matter who you are, no matter what your circumstance, you can walk into that restaurant and enjoy a healthy, delicious restaurant quality meal. They're the longest running participation-based cafe in the country, with their first location in Denver, 15 years in the making. They've opened a second location in Toledo, Ohio, and the board of directors for Same Cafe has an interest in Pueblo. However, no community support, no Same Cafe. This is a nonprofit. It's not a for-profit business. And that RFP was a good one. It was 18 grand for someone to assess the readiness of our community. And guess how many people applied? 1. And that applicant was from Pennsylvania. So what do they know about building community in Pueblo, Colorado? They were a restaurant development firm. Really great RFP. Looks like they opened some cool restaurants. They're not a community readiness assessment firm. They have no connection to Pueblo. So what happened, y'all? What happened? I was really surprised. No one took the time to respond to this bid. And basically this bid was it was asking, how would you get this off the ground in Pueblo? Anyone on this call could have executed that bid. No one responded. So do we really want to bring Same Cafe to Pueblo? I mean, usually communities are doing this on their own dime. We actually have money to do it. And we know that the Same Cafe board is interested in Pueblo. The RFP was out for a month and we got no hits. So what do? We say these goals are still aligned, but when it's time to start walking and stop talking, I don't know. So where are we at? Let's talk a little bit about Same Cafe.
I have a question. What happened with the homes, Nathan Stern and et cetera? I thought we were working with them to put it in. I mean, whatever happened to that?
Homes Hardware project is still underway, but
okay.
Same Cafe is not a fit for the Homes Hardware building. They have their mission and
Okay.
It's not suited for there.
Yeah, got it.
So I think something we need to emphasize with the whole group is that the Same Cafe and the model that they have, if you've been in any of the meetings, is it really truly is community-based. It depends on community participation and donations. They're not the kind of nonprofit that's looking for big grants to solve problems. It's really all about people going there, people participating. I think the majority of their donations come from the front counter when people do pay as they go. And so, Monique brings up a really good point that whoever answers that RFP to do the feasibility should be local or at least very familiar with the community, because that's where it's centered. And so I guess my question I've had with all of this is, was there anything different about how we put the RFP out? And we've had good responses from various companies over the last year or two. Do we know why they didn't respond?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Mo is exactly right. This is the first time we have ever had only one response to a Pueblo Food Project RFP. So it's not like the marketing isn't there, because, for example, our videographer RFP received 11 responses, 11 very qualified responses. So I doubt we're going to come to any decisions here today. The city procurement office is willing to relaunch the RFP if that's what this group decides to do. Although I'm not going to waste anyone's time. I'm meeting on a weekly basis with the executive director of Same Cafe, the organization in Denver, and he was like, are you kidding? You know, we've been talking about this, we've been planning this for almost a year, and when money's on the table, you know, the Pueblo community just simply did not show up or did not show interest. And so that's a really hard pill to swallow for a leader of an organization who's trying to bring his board on board with Pueblo as the next location. So just something for us to noodle over and think about. I know that in these conversations, it's very easy for us to say yes, yes, yes. But at the end of the day, if the work's not going to get done, you know, then what's really the point of the conversation? So I'll leave it at that. If you have thoughts or comments, or you want to have other questions that need to be answered, or you yourself are a consultant and just didn't know about the opportunity or had more questions, of course, we had a Q&A session that no one participated in. You know, reach out and let's figure it out, because this is a great little contract. This is an important systems change opportunity for the community. And we have a partner who's an expert, longest running cafe in the country of this model right up the road, who's excited to help. But I think this was a little discouraging for them, as you know, as you can imagine. So keep that in mind, and would love to see some emails to come in to me about this if you're interested, and we can try it again. But you know, I don't think we'll do that unless there's definitely some interest in seeing this move forward. And then we'll have to go back to the Colorado Health Foundation and say, hey, that 25 grand that we allocated for Same Cafe, we're gonna have to give that back. So we want to keep that in mind, because we put it down in writing, y'all, that this is what we said we were going to do, and this is where we landed. All right. Thoughts, comments, questions, maybe one or two comments before we move on, and then we got to keep it moving.
Monique, there were some comments in the chat, and I really agree with Bianca, is that maybe it just got missed at this time because everybody stretched those so thin. This summer was a really hard summer, and it could have gotten lost because there was just so much information happening and so many things going. So maybe if we relaunched it, and now that we're all aware of it again and school's starting, maybe we could all put some efforts and talk about it more. But I think it possibly got lost in the shuffle.
Okay. Yeah, well, we will try it again. As you know, it's all a process with the city, so I have to make some revisions in order to relaunch it, and then it'll be an open window, and we'll give it another shot. But we will once again put it out on social, send it over to the chambers, put an email blast about it, include it in the newsletter, add it to the minutes. So it'll be in all of the places that all of the other RFPs have been. And maybe now that we've kind of had a come to truth moment on it, it'll receive a different attention this go round. But thanks everyone for entertaining the conversation. And yeah, just being kind of in the middle between our community and the Same Cafe leadership, this one was a little bit tough to explain. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here. And we are now going to talk about some countywide plans, and I am turning the floor over to Miss Sherie Schaefer from the Extension Office.
Awesome, thanks Monique. Thanks for the opportunity to get to share some of our early results from our community needs assessment. I think I talked to many of you about the community needs assessment, particularly if you joined the Alliance for Food Access meetings. We gave a little presentation there, Laura Griffin and I from the Extension Office. And I just want to say thank you to all of the organizations that helped us to get that survey out to people. We did have a couple hundred respondents, which was awesome, but then they were found that about 47% of them turned out to be bots. So we lost about half of our results, but we still ended up with 91 respondents and an okay mix of people. I would have liked to see some other kind of demographics represented, but I think that's how surveys go. The same type of people tend to take surveys. So anyway, we've got the results here. And I just want to kind of tell you guys, I didn't prepare a formal presentation, but just really briefly what we learned that the community is looking for from extension anyway. And I think that could probably extrapolate to your organizations as well. So the respondents were given 7 broad categories to look at and then choose sub-issues in those categories that they want to see more resources on from extension or just in their community in general. So those 7 broad categories were community and economic development, natural resources and environment, health and well-being, personal property / yard / land management, food and ag industry, youth development, and then household and family finances. So out of that, just to kind of give you some of the big ones in each category that came up most in our survey results, when it comes to community and economic development, increasing civic engagement and leadership was a big one. And after talking to our staff, we don't know how much of an impact we could have on that one at the extension office, but so that's why I thought maybe it's a good thing to bring up here, because maybe some of your organizations might be able to make more of an impact on that issue in the community. And we're working on ideas as well to try to address that through extension. But that's kind of the big one that came out of the community and economic development category. Natural resources and environment, people wanted animal and plant identification, which we are currently all over. So that made me feel pretty good. We do that. I do that every day. Also water supply, water conservation, water efficiency was a big one. And I'm glad to see that being something that's on people's mind, because it's huge and it's going to just continue to be huge. So we will continue to focus on that for sure. Health and well-being, that one came up as a lot of people choosing those kind of topics as big things they want more education and more resources in. So nutrition, healthy food kind of things, cooking, access to foods, it was big, and food preservation. So we do, Laura does a lot of that food preservation stuff, and I know we participate in PAPA through the extension office, but we're definitely going to keep forefront in the future. This is showing us that the community is definitely wanting that. As far as in the category of personal property, yard, land management, 2 things that came up that I personally am thrilled to see are choosing sustainable landscapes, which is something I try to focus on a lot in programming, you know, keeping it sustainable. Let's not put too much effort into these plants that don't want to grow here. So we're definitely going to keep up on that. And then gardening and growing food was huge. So that kind of relates to this group a little bit. People really want gardening. They want to see more resources on growing food at home and more opportunities like that. So we're just going to keep rocking and rolling down that path, which I think we already do, but maybe we need to just get the word out there more. And that's something we'll definitely be working on. In the food and ag industry, this might be particularly interesting to many of you. Supporting local food production and distribution came up as a big one in that category, and as well as public understanding of the ag and food system. So, I mean, obviously, those are huge these days. I think having Christy on board as our new agronomist is going to be really helpful in us getting some of those kind of programs out to the public and giving them what they want, what they ask for. Urban ag also came up, which I consider kind of what we do with all Pueblo grows and the edible landscapes, like that's urban ag as well. So we're kind of hitting that mark, and I think we could just only continue to grow it from here. As far as youth development goes, we do have 4-H out of our office. So this was a big one we wanted to look at and see what parents wanting, although parents were not a huge chunk of our respondents. So it'd be interesting just to get a little bit more parents if we ever do this again. But The two big ones that came out of youth development were developing youth life skills. So some of the examples were like finances, resume building, things like that, that they might not be getting so much in schools anymore. And then developing their leadership skills. And then of course, after school and fifth day programs were big, because a lot of parents just are needing somewhere to send their kids that's also enriching during those times when they can't be with them. And then the last category, household family finances. Emergency preparedness came up, which is, you know, we all try to work on that a little bit. We do some stuff out of our office whenever there's a wildfire. We help with evacuating animals and stuff, and all extension agents are required to take some FEMA courses. So we are working on that, and we definitely will continue to try to be in the emergency preparedness forefront in the future. Food insecurity and management came up, which kind of related back to one of the other things we've already talked about, and we'll definitely be focusing on that. Something that we don't currently do that we might look at how we can get into is support for aging adults and their caregivers. That was something that was asked for, something that we don't focus heavily on in the Pueblo office, but I think we do have some resources at the state level that could help out our community with that. So that's just really high level the results. Our next step is to create something a little more pretty that we can send out to people in the form of a county program plan, and like how we plan to take these results and act on them. So if anybody has any questions, I will be happy to answer them, but that's what we learned, and I think it was pretty interesting.
Thanks for that report, Sherie. When you do get it kind of all typed out for the public, will you make sure that this group receives it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else have a question for Sherie? You wowed them, Sherie. You wowed them. All right, well, if you do have questions, throw them in the chat or shoot us an email. We can follow up. Lots of great hints and directions for us to go coming out of that research. Very interested in the plant identification one. That sounds pretty cool. We should take a plant walk here coming up now that the heat is dying down, but appreciate you sharing those thoughts, and we can think about how we incorporate that feedback into the programs and activities we plan with the working groups. I'm very quickly going to talk about the Pueblo County Comprehensive Land Use Plan. Give me a thumbs up if you've heard about this effort, Pueblo County Comprehensive Land Use Plan. Couple people. All right, well, Pueblo County, for the first time in 20 years, is coming up with a comprehensive land use plan. They're going to articulate all of the ways that we can use this abundant resource of our land to help our community thrive. And they're at a critical stage where they've gone through a bunch of options and they're starting to evaluate scenarios. So what you see here is a little screenshot of the 3 scenarios that they are working through right now. Twin Cities, Pueblo West, Central City Revitalization, focusing on Pueblo, downtown area, and then this other idea of regional centers, and they all have their different layers and pieces of information. The most important part, the reason I'm bringing this up to you all, is that we as a community must voice our support for farms and food systems operations as part of this plan. As you can imagine, a lot of focus is going into development, more people, more houses, more people, more houses. We know that some of our water rights have already been sold off out in the county. So, well, not our water rights, they're their water rights, but some of those water rights have already been given back for development. And what that means is that there is an increased pressure on local farms to continue farming. And if we as community members care about having farms 15 minutes from our city center, then we need to voice our support for farms being a central piece of this comprehensive land use plan. I've linked the most recent report in the agenda so you can take a look at it. Let me tell you, it is thrilling reading, lots of pictures, lots of stats, and they are constantly hosting open public forums on gathering opinion for these sort of conversations. So there's a consultant working with the county who's sort of leading this and developing these reports. But the ask on the table is, if you have the time to write a commissioner, or if you see one in person, or you have time to participate in one of these conversations, let them know how important it is for Pueblo to prioritize farmland as a land use that we're really committed to. Again, this is the first time this conversation is happening in the last 20 years. It might be another 20 years before this conversation happens again. And think about where we would be 20 years from now if farms don't show up as a key priority. Things would look a lot different here. So that is all I will say about that. Again, the report is linked in your agenda, and there are a number of different ways for you to voice your support. Dr. B, do you want to share a couple comments on this before we move on?
No, I think it's important that people realize the, precarious nature agriculture is in Pueblo County. Everybody thinks, it's going well, but there's just a real problem when we're on the verge of losing so much of our agricultural ground, and as well as our producers. The cost of land is getting so high, that the incentivizing for development or water sales is so high that we can't even, young farmers can't even get in and buy land anymore. So we are very, very tenuous position here. And I hope people understand that it's not going to be there forever. And I think we've kind of taken that for granted over the years. So we need to start looking at different ways that we can make sure that those resources are transitioned to the next generation. So thank you.
All right. And with that, we will go into some working group updates, and I'll round things out with a little bit of pictures on the Fujikits and other updates for the coordinator's report. We are going to start things off a little bit differently this round. Miss Megan Moore, if you will please share with the good people everything that's going on with sun, soil, water, and then we will do economy, food, farm literacy, education, environment, and Lindy, you will go after Dr. Jim with access. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if everyone wants to show their beautiful faces in gallery mode so that we can pretend we're actually in a conversation with each other, that would be great. And Megan, lay it on them, what we got.
Good morning, everybody. So as you know, we're rocking and rolling with the Sun, Soil, Water Summit. Again, it's going to be at Pueblo Community College with a piece of grain school out in the county on Sunday. So right now we're working on the leadership awards on Friday. So we're kind of putting together what those awards are going to look like, what the night's going to look like, and things like that. We're getting very close to having official keynote speakers and sessions. So don't forget, if you have a session in mind, you can still put your idea in, and we can maybe make it a session. We'll see. That is somewhere, so you can just email me and I'll send you the link right away. So we're getting very close on that. It's been crazy. We've been doing so much. So you guys have gotten probably a bunch of communications from us on things that are coming up. So the pitch competition is well on its way to being put together. So we're going to have a very stellar panel of judges, including Walter Robb and a couple other executives from Whole Foods Market in Colorado and a couple other places that are really awesome. So we're looking forward to that. So if you know any businesses or anybody who has an idea and they want to submit, shoot them my information, shoot them the information that's available. All of that is open, and we're accepting applications right now. We're hoping it'll be a pretty competitive pool. I'm not really worried about it. We've gotten some good feedback so far. Yeah, so I think that's it for Sun, Soil, Water.
All right, nice. Megan, you had your coffee this morning. Thank you. That was a great update. Mo Montgomery, food economy.
Yes. So food economy is hopping along. We are kind of finishing up developing the 15-week curriculum with Jolene Collins and philosophy communications. So we're getting ready to talk to different stakeholders about that and kind of unleash it into the world. And then we're also working on getting restaurants together to talk about the issues they're facing in the wake of COVID, and how can we put together as a community an ARPA proposal to kind of bail out the workforce, to bail out these restaurants, and give them a leg up to be successful. And so we're getting ready to, we're going to be releasing a flyer soon with the chamber. I sent it to them this morning, just to get restaurants on board to have the conversation, which has been a pretty big challenge in the past, to bring them together in the same place. So that's kind of the main thing. And then we're going to have a presence at Chili Fest. Derek and I are working on that. We're meeting with the chamber today on it. And I hope to see all of you stop by our tent at Chili Fest when that time comes.
All right, Dr. Kelly, food, farm, literacy, and education.
All right, we had a fun icebreaker coming back from the break, just asking how people got involved in the food system and what their favorite local ingredients were that they were eating, if they tried anything new, and encouraging people to fill out the reflection exercise. Really, we had a long conversation about ARPA proposals, that there's some coming in from the access side around the community garden success support program and the Mineral Palace greenhouse, and continuing to look for monetary support for the farm to school programs movement to grow. So we talked about having a contest about local ingredients, like a recipe style one. We will be working towards that event in October, potentially with some of the fire department, and just asking our volunteers to help out at the Chili Fest with the booth and continuing to spread the word. I had 2 new people at the meeting this week, and we're having a parent brainstorm coming up at the City Park Pavilion, and we'll be providing food for that. So there's a small budget request, but I'm really excited. It was the first time we had an infographic from Megan going out through the District 60 major communication channel. So I think that's a really big win, and I'll hear back from D70 and continue to invite all the parents that we can. If you know any that aren't in school, would you please let me know? I know there's a homeschool cohort out there too. And last but not least, we had Fujikits, our transition. We had such a wonderful year with the youth last season, and just having new applications being reviewed for the, I think we have 23 who applied and 12 seats. So that's really good to see the growth of interest from that stakeholder group too.
All right, Dr. Jim.
Here we go. Well, with the time in between or in July, in parallel to the things that all the working groups, we looked at a 3-month process. And as such, we've identified things to accomplish, such as, I don't know if you've all heard of gleaning, but that's whereby you can go into a area of land that's already been harvested, but hand harvest the residual fruit and vegetables that maybe don't go to market, but also can be used either to prepare food and or for a direct distribution within our community. It's got an interesting name, gleaning. It can be of some value to the farmers as well, if that can be done consistent with their needs, which is pretty short, if they want to be able to harvest and then start to amend the soil. So that should be an interesting process, and everyone keep your ears open for those opportunities. In addition, we've not planned yet, but are in the process of trying to organize more meetings, however they may be, with the producers, so we can bring to them the opportunities that the food project would provide for them. And of course, as you all know, across the nation in these food projects, that connection is one of the most difficult to establish. It's, kind of cultural. They don't want to be told what to do. They don't necessarily want to come to town. So we have another opportunity to really provide tremendous leadership examples, maybe unlike other food projects. The people that produce our food are also our neighbors. We literally, from the east side, can see those fields looking at our back window. So we're the natural soil to grow that process whereby the intersection occurs. So that's very exciting, I think, and it takes time. But again, we've established credibility, efficacy, and so those opportunities are only going to grow because of what we've already done. We're still keeping an eye on water pretty good, as you all know. We're getting closer to the day when the water in the upper basin is going to be reclaimed by those in the lower basin. So that's another regional significance that we give attention to. I know we talked about some other thing, Monique. Other things. Can you help me remember some of the things that I'm missing?
Sure. Yeah. So for September, we will be hosting a history of farming event that I'll talk about a little bit later in partnership with Miss Christy Bartolo, the new agronomy agent at CSU Extension. October, as Jim mentioned, we're really looking to find a field to glean, to go into that cooking contest that Dr. Kelly was talking about. So now we're getting some cross working group pollination going on. And then for December, we are really going to, as Jim mentioned, try and connect with the farmers and focus on irrigation options and bringing them some resources to play around with new irrigation models on their fields. So not telling them what to do, just giving them options. Yeah. All right, Lindy, access.
Good morning. So our food access working group, we've definitely kept working during our break in a lot of different food access initiatives. So we got together and just kind of recapped, what did we do? What new ideas have we found or been able to expand on? But one topic was the farmers market at Mineral Palace Park, because that is our local market that welcomes SNAP, Double Up Food Bucks, and this year the WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program. And we are, our working group focused earlier in the year on how can we make it really an inclusive community gathering place to go along with that food access and supporting our local farmers and food producers. So we talked about what's going well, and there were definitely a lot of stories shared from individuals who were so excited to access food tours, have a lot of fun, and get things like free books and free arts activities for their kids. And the SNAP and WIC voucher redemption, we had an update on that, and that's going really well. But we're continue to work on getting the word out to people that the market is there, that it welcomes those food access programs. And it does go through October, as long as our weather and harvest permit. And we'll be implementing a survey. So the working group helped the market with creating that survey, and we'll be rolling it out at the market, as well as people can take it online. So you'll see it on Pueblo Food Project's Facebook, as well as the SoCo Farm and Craft Fair's Facebook. We talked about the progress on our videos. So our working group worked on, what are the key themes that we want to do in our food access program videos? Who should be a part of that? We nailed down all of the scripts and talked to people that may want to be actors or give testimonials. And so now we're at the point where our RFP, we've contracted with Black Fox Visuals to create those videos. So we'll be filming in September and hopefully have those rolled out in October and beyond, and to share with our Pueblo community, people that may need to access programs such as SNAP, Double Up Food Bucks, food pantries, WIC, how do they do it? And then for everybody else in our food system, what is the benefit to the community of these programs? And so it goes back to that strategic plan goal of reducing ambiguity and stigma around food access programs. So we'll be excited to show those videos. And if anyone's interested in what we're doing, you can definitely reach out to me or one of our other food access members, like Brandy or Derek. There's quite a few of us that have been involved in these. And then we worked on a fun engagement activity for September 10th. So the flyer is out, I believe, on Pueblo Food Project's social media. We're focusing on older adults, but I think anyone that is interested would be able to attend. So Cooking Matters will be providing some education on how to make our own salad dressings and some healthy ingredients to do that. And the Fujikits will be providing some delicious salad ingredients so people can come make their dressing and shop for the free produce that they would like to include in their salad. So we'll be looking to get seniors there if you have any ideas of how to get the word out to them or help them get to the park. So the exciting part about this too is that we're going to host it at one of the edible landscapes, the one in Mineral Palace Park, right next to the farmers market. So that's all really exciting. We had a lot of great ideas. And then we had a little bit of time left over too. So we talked about how do we keep working on food access connections, like with healthcare centers like St. Mary Corwin, housing, and different service access points that we could combine with getting healthy food to people. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lindy. Advocacy, we had two main conversations. One, sweetened sugary beverage tax. How do we feel about it? Because there is a statewide conversation taking place and folks are starting to decide whether or not a statewide tax should be implemented. Local taxes have been implemented in major cities around the country to some success. And there's a conversation at the state level talking about whether or not this should be a statewide initiative. And if so, what should that look like and who should be involved? And would the Pueblo Food Project support such an initiative? So there is a meeting taking place on August 31st where state players will get together and discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of a statewide sugary beverage tax. So keep your ears peeled. That one might be coming down the pipe. The other thing we talked about was reaching out to our elected representatives and inviting them to Sun, Soil, Water. So Dear Megan has put together a dope letter that I'll be sending out to the advocacy working group. We each assigned ourselves different representatives. We've covered every single representative who gets to represent this great little hamlet of Pueblo, Colorado. And we will be sending those out in the next week or two. So we were busy focused on those two things. And now I will re-share my screen and give you a Fujikits update in pictures. Our inaugural class of Fujikits, half of them have moved on to college. Some of them are still in town. And as Kelly mentioned, we have 23 applications for our second cohort. So you see them, they hosted a soup kitchen pizza party. They have executed a few different distributions using their $27,000 in grant money that they themselves wrote and were awarded for healthy meal kits going out into the community. This was the bounty in our last kit. Like, these are not chintzy kits, y'all. These are really, really nice. Their feedback is glowing. Folks say, wow, this is amazing. We're getting pictures of little people making these recipes, so we're feeling really good about it. And I am excited to share that they are the first ever youth-led mural on the Pueblo levee. In the history of the levee, it's the first time we had minors dangling over the river. So we made it. No one got wet. it all worked out. It was a really big endeavor for them. They were super excited about this, and you can go and check out their design and their work on the wall. So that's what's popping with the Fujikits. All right, very quickly, I'm just going to blast through some of these things that you already heard about in order. September 1st, we have our parent conversation. So you'll be seeing these go around on Facebook. We do appreciate when you share these out on our behalf. We do appreciate when you send them to your lists where appropriate. Megan puts a lot of time into creating these graphics, and we'd love to see them reach as many people as possible. So this is for our parent brainstorm. Our DIY salad dressing activity that Lindy just mentioned will take place at our Mineral Palace Edible Landscape. We hope to see you there. If you have a grandma that you want to bring down, an auntie who wants to get busy with us making some salad dressing, we'd love to have some really multi-generational mix. The Fujikits will be there volunteering. We'd love to see some of our seniors involved. Hopefully there's some good story sharing that's going on. So join us on the 10th. And then, as mentioned, History of Farming is on Chili Fest Eve. We're hoping that everyone who's excited to go to Chili Fest and eat that delicious chili will want to know the story. What's the story of Pueblo farming here? And so we're hoping to have a great presentation put together at the Heritage History Museum. We're looking forward to partnering with them for the first time. And then, as mentioned, we will have a presence at Chili Fest itself. And please contact Derek. I don't know if you want to put your email in the chat, Derek, or the sign up link, but Derek is responsible for
I'm trying to, sorry. I'm trying to get the link to post in the chat.
Great. All right, and then after that, on September 27th, as Mo mentioned, we're hosting these two very important conversations where we'll talk about potential solutions that have been implemented in other communities and what would the interest be for implementing them here. A local delivery business with more competitive rates than Uber Eats and Grubhub, dining out vouchers for SNAP recipients, hiring and retention bonuses for food service staff, and then local supply chain development, helping restaurants buy local. So we're hoping that these are dynamic conversations. Once we get that initial feedback, we will hone in on the options that folks are most excited about and put forward an ARPA application in very short order, because we're going to come back to that. October 1st is the last day to submit an ARPA proposal if you want your proposal reviewed in 2021. So if you want your proposal reviewed in 2021, you must submit your application by October 1st. All right, now for some business. As many of you know, we have a decision-making framework for the Pueblo Food Project that says no grant money will be spent unless the working group or the coalition at large supports the spend of that grant money coming out of the Colorado Health Foundation. Usually, these spending requests are reviewed at the working group level. However, this go round, we just didn't quite have it ready, and therefore it now comes to the full coalition for a vote. The request on the floor is for $470 max, $400 on food, $25 on a kids activity, and $45 for 3 raffle prizes for folks who participate in that parent conversation. The spending request in total is linked in your agenda. So you can see there that there are a number of questions that we need to go through in order to submit this request to you now. And the question on the floor is, do you support this spend of grant money, $470. So I'm going to stop sharing this presentation, very quickly bring up the spending request so that you can see we did our due diligence to fill it out, and then I will post a link in the chat for folks to take a quick vote. And all this has been done for every piece of spending coming out of that CHF grant. So if you're not participating in the working group meetings and you're wondering where the money is going or how these decisions are being made, we can show you a log of every single one of these. It's part of our documented decision-making process. So I'll just go through the highlights. This implementation goal really is our strategy for ongoing food and farm education and to increase influence. The Food and Farm Literacy Education Group brainstormed this session. We're going to rope in the Fujikits. As Kelly mentioned, D60 is willing to publish. The reason that we're asking for this money is that it's nice to have a conversation over dinner. And we think it'll have an easier time getting parents and kids there if we offer them that incentive. Essentially, we'd like to host this in a week. And I'm going to throw the vote in the chat. So you are welcome to vote yes, no, and provide any other comments that you'd like to provide. And the decision-making framework says those who are in the room make the vote. So even if this is your first Pueblo Food Project meeting, it's quite all right. The information is there for you to make your own best decision. So that form is in the chat now, and we will give that just a minute before we move into community announcements. So I invite everyone to please take that vote. All right. So just so you're familiar on the process, after the vote, it goes to the executive committee for final sign off. So they see the vote results, they make the final sign off, and then it's either a yay or a nay, we spend or we don't. So for those who are not familiar, that's how we've been rolling for the last year. Whew. All right, we made it. 9:45, right on the dot. So this portion of our agenda is open for community announcements and then some appreciations. I know that Brian had an announcement. We have some new faces on the line. If you feel like introducing yourself, that would be awesome. We have Christy. I don't know if you want to give us a rundown on how that bus tour went and maybe if there's a plan for a second one. So I'm going to hand over the reins. Brian, you want to kick us off?
Yes, hello everyone. I just wanted to let everybody know that the Small Business Development Center and Pueblo Community College are hosting a job fair on September 16th. It's Thursday, September 16th during Small Business Week. And so it's from 11 to 2. Any job seekers can just walk in to campus and register and meet with employers right there on the spot. If you know of any employers or you are an employer looking for help as well, reach out to me and we'll get you set up with an account so that you can participate in the job fair. I'll put my email in the chat here so we're ready to go. And then if any businesses or any of you on this call need help, we have 12 consultants that can help you. It's confidential, free of charge, and we're here and ready to help now as we're pivoting out of COVID. Hopefully the Delta variant doesn't put us backwards again, but we're ready to help. You know, I know all of us cover our eyes there, but we're here and ready to help. So if you do need help looking for employees, please sign up for that job fair. It'll be a great opportunity. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Brian. Mo, I'm seeing you put an announcement in the chat. You want to shout that out?
Sure. So the PCC Culinary Arts Program has a student-run restaurant. Students make the food, they serve the food. They're all in class while we're in operation, and we are open for the fall semester. So Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for lunch, 11:30 to 1. Most of our entrees are under $10, and we'll be open for the next 15 weeks. So I want to encourage all of you. We're located in the Student Center on the Pueblo campus. You don't have to make reservations. They're encouraged, but they're not necessary, except for the very last week of our service, which will be the first week of December. That's Surf and Turf week, and we get really busy. So it's going to be hard to get in without reservations. But when you come in, you're in a classroom and you're supporting that learning. So we would appreciate it.
All right.
Well, I would like to just make a quick announcement and say thank you to everybody who participated and everybody who helped put on the bus tour. It was, I think, a good success, and I think I got good feedback from the farmers. They were excited to be able to talk to everybody in the community as well. So thank you, Dr. Bartolo, and everybody who was on the bus tour and participated and helped put it on. And I do hope that we will have more in the future. I'm sure there will be. So thank you so much.
All right.
I had a quick update too. Like always, we have our distribution tomorrow, 12 p.m., 2300 East 10th Street. Please invite anybody that was looking for food, or if you want to come pick up some food for somebody else, you're able to do that. Also, we, for Rocky Mountain Sarah, we're moving back into our facility on 330 Lake Avenue. Last night, we did have a zoning meeting and we were approved to be able to open a pantry at that location. So that was very exciting, and we will be breaking ground next week there, and in anticipation of having that pantry rolling by October. So I'm always looking for volunteers or anybody that would like to help support that movement. We are very, very excited for this opportunity, and within the whole pantry area, we anticipate at least 4,000 square feet for a pantry, cold storage, refrigerator space, as well as loading. And we'll be able to utilize our commercial kitchen, our cafeteria. We have a gymnasium and a lot of room space. So if anybody is looking for any of those things, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
All right. Who else has an exciting community announcement about something cool going on here in Pueblo?
I do.
Go for it.
There's a couple of them, I'll roll a couple of things all into one. On September 6th, Eastside Action Support Team is having an outdoor in-person meeting at the Span Elementary. 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. We're gonna try to throw some food on the grill. So we haven't nailed on all of the details yet, but we're gonna try to feed some folks and throw some support out there for Pueblo's East Side Grocery, being brought to us by Mike Hartkop of Solar Roast and Nick's Dairy Cream. So he is currently in contract, and I'm not gonna, if some of you know what's going on, I'm not gonna steal all his thunder. But Mike's gonna come out and give us and it's just, try to demonstrate community support for Eastside Grocery. So very excited about all of that. Randy Adikai will also be speaking about what's going on with Seton, and what's what's going on. East is in partnership with RMSER. There's all kinds of cool stuff. So please save that date, plan to come out and join us. Please be ready to build support for Eastside Grocery. You all know we need a grocery store. We will have copies of citizen support letters for people to sign and leave with Mike, so that you don't have to worry about mailing them back in. I know there were a couple of other things, but I got so excited about that. Oh, farmers market. I really want to just extend a huge gratitude to all of the volunteers who have made this season run. The community resources booth, the Double Up Market booth, Cooking Matters has been enormously popular. Our people love Lindy and her recipes and her demos and all of that. We are running at, I've had to do 2 contract extensions for Double Up Food Bucks, which means we have already outrun our allotment that we projected for the season by a lot. And so I've had to make 2 urgent phone calls and say, hey, can you ship me some more? Because I'm out, and I'm almost out. We doubled what was, so we are running at, we're running about 75% redemption on Snap and 72 on Double Up right now. But I think we really believe people are saving for chilies and, stuff like that. So the numbers are going to be really crazy, I think, over the next few weeks. Very exciting. So thank you to everybody who has helped make this possible, whether it's been behind the scenes or out front, with the story times and the activities. Everything has been incredibly well received, and people are loving the market and the vibe. And lots of you helped to make that, are helping to make it go every week. So thank you.
Who else? Announcements, appreciations. I'm going to throw out an appreciation. I want to deeply appreciate the folks who showed up at my DIG presentation last Wednesday. Shout out to Brandy and Kelly, Derek, Frank, Angelina, Megan, of course, all of the folks who showed up to represent the food project in that room and also support the story that we were trying to tell. As you know, Gregory Howell is doing a storytelling series at the Senate Bar every Wednesday night. Lots of speakers from all different walks of life here in Pueblo, and the Pueblo Food Project had its moment last week. So thank you so much for you guys being there and being in the audience. It helped take the nerves off a little bit, and yeah, very appreciative to see you guys there. So thank you very much. Other appreciations.
Can I throw out one more exciting thing?
Yeah, sure.
Hunger Free Colorado is sending their director of media relations, who is also an exceptionally gifted storyteller. He is a documentary filmmaker in his outside life. And he's coming down, they're doing a statewide documentary on hunger relief, and he's coming to Pueblo and is interviewing several of you. And so I'm very excited. We're very excited about that because I can't wait to see his work. And then after the work is completed, we will have complete access to use the shots and the footage for whatever marketing and whatnot. So that's going to be a very cool highlight.
Right. Other appreciations. Appreciations. It's not hard to show some love. Go for it, Kelly.
Oh, I did want to thank you for the DIG presentation. I hope that we can maybe view it later if there's a link or something. I share that in the chat. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to my little baby future farmer, Jeremiah. He turns 5 tomorrow, and a couple of days ago, he was standing out front waiting for school with me, and he started telling another mom about the Pueblo Food Project. So he's like, I think he called it Public Food Project, but it was just so adorable to see he's paying so close attention to being involved and being a little leader no matter what size. And if you're interested in something not quite food related, there is a cool event coming up at the First Friday Art Walk. We're going to be doing a little peace parade throughout the Riverwalk area and a dance and play called Transmuting, and it's about healing through the pain of COVID. And so that might be really beautiful offering to anyone, and it's free. I also just want to say thanks to Marcy for all the work with the farmers market. It's been a really, like I said, progressing culture of inclusivity, and we just have had so, how do I say this? I'm glad to see the farmers are still showing up for that. And even the Palisade Peaches are there with a new vendor and things like that, where it's like, we're starting to see how it could be lost if we do take it for granted. So thank you.
Mike, I see you have a hand up. Very formal. You're on mute, brother.
I know, I was just joking. Well, yeah, I'm just touching base. Mike Hartkop, I have Solar Roast Coffee here in town. Met some of you only by phone. But hello. I've been working on a grocery store project on the east side and over at, I don't even know the cross street, but it's the old Chicken and Pasta and the original Arapahoe grocery out there. I've got both buildings under contract right now. I've applied for ARPA funds and funds from God and everywhere in between to try to make it happen. So I need a lot of community support. This is the first time I've actually talked to anybody about it other than one-off conversations. So my email is just mike@solaroast.com. Shoot me an email if you're interested somehow in helping. I don't have much of a background in grocery at all. My grandpa ran a grocery store when I was a little boy. And I've been in grocery stores selling coffee for about 10 years. But it's a real community need over there. I've loved the east side since I moved to Pueblo. And so, I'm just going to push and see if I can get a grocery store open, and I'm going to push as hard as I humanly can. And either at the end of the year or next year we'll have one or we won't. But this is what I'm actively working on, and I would love help. So anyway, thanks for your time. And this is a cool group. I'm glad I was here.
Right. Well, you can guarantee our support is with you. So we're going to do whatever we can to make this thing fly. Okay, one more. Anyone got one more appreciation, one more announcement they want to share?
I actually have one more appreciation, and then I put an announcement in the thing. I forgot to say that the director of the Colorado Farmers Market Association and the commissioner of ag will Kate Greenberg will both be at the farmers market this Friday morning, coming through Pueblo. And we had an incident at the farmers market a few weeks ago where a customer was just being abusive to one of our vendors. And Dr. Kelly came to me and she said, I don't mean to be rude or anything, and she pointed out and told me what happened. And I waited and I talked to the customer and told him you're not welcome to treat our vendors like that. You can go ahead and leave. And he came back, he left, but he came back the following week and he apologized to the vendor. And so I really thank you, Dr. Kelly, and thank you. Like, the vendor was so grateful for being stood up for, and he was so surprised that we stood up for him. And it broke my heart that he was surprised about that. But I'm thankful to see that things are turning around, because he's just really, he now knows that we're on his side, and that, their $5 doesn't, or their $45 is not as important as his dignity. So that was a huge deal for us.
All right. Well, everyone give snaps to Mark and Rebecca and Amanda, because this is their first coalition meeting. So thank you so much for joining us. And y'all, we did it right on time. There is a feedback form in the chat. I'm sorry the polls didn't work out. Spoiler alert, we're going to try and go live in September. We're going to try and be back in person, in the flesh in September. So hopefully y'all are excited for that. As always, we so much value your participation, and we'll see you next time. Peace.